Hello, today I'll be going over how I take pictures outside and of myself, but using a flash or a strobe and during the daytime. This has quickly become my new favorite photography style because it looks just a little bit more produced than using natural light. There's something kind of ethereal about the look, and it also makes the subject feel superimposed on the background, especially when you have strong lighting in front of something sort of semi-dramatic like bright clouds or blue skies, but it also works against mundane or dreary, kind of boring backgrounds too. This series of photos has been part of a self-portrait series I've been doing on the side. It's easier to learn myself as a model than trying to learn how to direct and shoot at the same time with equipment that I'm not quite familiar with. The gear I'm using today is the Fujifilm X Pro 3 and the 35mm f2 lens alongside the newer Vision 4 strobe and a cheap light stand and umbrella that I got at a local camera store for no more than like 50 bucks. And then my phone as like a remote shutter release connected to my camera through the Fuji X app. I would say it doesn't really matter what kind of camera and lens you use, but I prefer to have a little compression in my images, so that's why I like the 50mm equivalent that my 35mm provides me. I also like to place my light a little bit higher above me than I might normally, because I have glasses and this produces a little bit fewer reflections in my glasses. When you kind of get those right over my eyes, it gets a little distracting, but I would say experiment with moving your light all around you in kind of all different angles and see how that affects your final result if you try this. Alright, so now I'm just going to roll a quick little clip of setup and then we'll get into looking at some actual images. So first, it's really all about setting up your light stand, kind of picking a location. So for me, it was my backyard because it was super easy and accessible. Then it was also considering what time of day, so this was late in the afternoon, kind of overcast, but I knew the sun would be setting shortly after. And so that way I was able to balance out flash with natural light. Lastly, it's also just kind of trying things. There's a lot of photos that don't work because you just don't know what you're doing, and that's totally okay. So going forward, I would say just kind of keep trying until something works, because that's what's always worked for me, and it always seems to get me an okay result. Now I'm just going to leave you with some of these images, so feel free to look through them, comment about them, and then I will come back in at the end. Alright, so now that you've seen sort of the collection of images that I took, I want to just go through and talk sort of one by one about my top three. So this first one I really liked. Something about just how I was directly facing the camera and how isolated I kind of felt from the background. I think the face I'm making is a little silly, but at the same time I just like the photo overall. There's something really great about the depth and the way that the light hits my body, but not too much of the background. That just makes it really nice to me overall, just the colors, everything. I think this next outfit was my favorite. Something about the contrast between the red of the jacket and the red of the sky was just really visually striking to me. That paired with sort of the even lighting across my body, but you can tell that it's kind of getting dim into the evening behind me. It just made myself pop against the background in a way that I don't see a lot in my own photography. And so this is a sort of a look I'm trying to achieve as I continue working and I continue doing projects like this. I think this photo is without a doubt my favorite from the entire night. Something about the way that the light blue of the hat matches the light blue that's still barely left in the sky, and then the red of the jacket matches the little bit of red that's still peeking through above the horizon, just brings this whole photo together for me. Additionally, it's sort of a callback to a project I had done when I was still in school, where I had sort of taken the same pose, but I had done it in front of a more blank background, and I think this brought a very unique and interesting element to this composition of this photo that sort of revitalized it in a new way for me and sort of brought it back to life, especially with this sort of interesting lighting technique I have going on here, where the bright light is on me and then the background is dim, as I mentioned talking about the last photo. And, I think that's something that I find really, really engaging, and I just think it really carries me visually through this image. So, what are my closing thoughts? Well, I think that I'm definitely going to keep doing this kind of photography. I mean, I've invested in it obviously financially pretty heavily. But on top of that, it's just something that's super fun and it's super rewarding when you just put in the time to set up an entire scene and kind of compose yourself, dress yourself, and really like pre plan and do some pre production for a shoot that you're just doing by yourself. But I definitely want to start doing this with more sort of models or people who aren't me. I've been photographing a lot of musicians in concerts and stuff, and I would love to maybe take this sort of style of photography and get musicians into it. And I think that could create some really unique and interesting photos, some interesting juxtaposition, and just really develop my style a little bit more. I think if you're someone who is interested in this kind of photography, or maybe you like these photos, it's totally achievable to get into. The flash I used is, I think, probably one of the most inexpensive flashes you can find on Amazon for, under $250 on average. So I would highly recommend giving it a shot if maybe you have a little bit extra money or you're looking to step up your photography game. I'm curious what you guys think. Please let me know in the comments below, and thank you and have a great rest of your day.